Hello friends, welcome to my fall book haul and welcome to the beautiful light on my face. I don't know that the sun will be in our favor today, but I'm going to go through everything that I bought in the last month or so, and it's a lot. You know, I didn't hold back on everything that I wanted. Part of it is to prepare for the Goodreads Choice Awards, which should be coming out next Tuesday, if my calculations are correct. And then you'll see my Goodreads Choice Horror Awards video at the end of November, beginning of December. But if you want a little sneak peek, the day that the announcement comes, if you join my membership, you can get an early reaction from me of the entire Choice Awards and what I think of all the nominees. So some of these are predictions for what I think might, or I hope might be in the Goodreads Choice Awards for horror. But then the rest of them are just horror books I really want to read in the next couple months, and hopefully I do. So the first thing I picked up is The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward, which I am currently in the middle of right now, and there's a live show on Gabby's channel for her book troop book club with her and me on Friday morning. So you can discuss this with us live and see all of our thoughts. So far it's very strange. It's about a house on a street called Needless Street, and there is a cat who narrates the story, there is a man who narrates the story, and there's a teenage girl who narrates the story, and things are very just strange and ominous. The synopsis itself is equally vague, so I don't want to tell too much, but there is a secret that binds them all together. Ooh, also one more live show, another quick promotion, sorry. But on Saturday, I'm watching the Practical Magic movie for the first time ever with my channel members. So if you need another reason to join, that's what we're up to the day before Halloween. The book I feel like is gonna be the perfect pick to read on Halloween is this. This is the spookiest cover ever. It's called Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Kaw. And the setting of this is like an abandoned mansion that might be haunted. There's a group of friends celebrating a wedding, and it says, lurking in the shadows, there's a ghost bride. It's short, it's very spooky. It took me so long to find it. It said there was one in stock in my local indie bookstore, and I was scouring the shelves for like 20 minutes, could not find it. I also thought it was a lot bigger than it was, but I eventually found it in this little like basket they had at the front of the store with a bunch of little graphic novels. Anyway, next up is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling, and this is the Literally Dead Book Club pick for the month of November. So another live show upcoming. This will be at the end of November. This is a Gothic story about a marriage. Yes, there's hands on the cover. It very much intrigued me. And I guess this woman gets married to this man, and she shows up at his manor that he told her she's never allowed to go to, and she discovers him in like a different state than she knows him to be. He's like frightened and thinks that she's an apparition come to kill him or something. I really don't know where it goes from there. I don't know what to expect, but I'm really excited for everyone to read this and for us to chat about it. Next up, I picked up Pearl by Josh Malerman. This was another case where there was only one left at the store, and I was like, I need to pick it up. I think it's beautiful. It's far better than the cover it originally had. This was originally called On This, the Day of the Pig. It's gotten very mixed reviews, but you know, they republished it, and yeah, I got suckered in. And I don't really know what it's about, because it just says there's a farm, and there's like this pig called Pearl who summons you to the farm, perhaps, to eat you or something. Wish me luck with that one. Next up, the latest Grady Hendrix. Side note, it will be a while before I do another like upcoming books video when I have an opportunity to talk about it, so I'll mention it here in case you didn't see. The next Grady Hendrix title has been announced, and it's called How to Sell a Haunted House, and I will be buying it. This one though has been getting a lot of buzz this year. It's called The Final Girl Support Group, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a bunch of women who have been the last survivors of like mass casualties, big massacres and serial killers, and they all come together to support each other. And then obviously from there, something happens. One of the women goes missing, and apparently somebody has found out about the group and is now perhaps going to take them out one by one. And I feel like that's the only one that I feel very confident will be in the awards. I hope the reprieve is in there. This is by James Hahn Matson. Do you prefer this cover or this cover? Because like the colors of this are really beautiful and I like it. And this isn't typically my thing, but this if I'm looking for a horror novel, this definitely grabs my attention more. And this part of it, there are like blood drippings down it, and I love that. But from what people say, this seems to be a more like accurate cover because it is more of like a literary slow story as opposed to a horror. I don't really know, but it has to do with an escape room. As you'll find out more as I go through this list, I'm really into like locked room mysteries and horrors, or at least I keep picking them up. So this one is set in 1997. It calls it a social horror. Apparently we just spend a lot of time learning about the characters themselves and like their past and how they feel in their like place in society and like being Americans. But there's a cash prize and somebody sneaks into the escape room and like kills one of the contestants, and that's what kicks off the whole thing. I also recently picked up Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder, and I have already read this. There's a vlog all about it right here. This is another somewhat horror story. I don't know if it's going to end up on the awards, but it's about a woman, an exhausted mother who grows a tail and fangs and believes she's turning into a dog. And that's pretty much it. Next, another horror I had to grab is called The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. I think this came out in like 2019. Yes, 2019. And this is about a character whose grandmother dies, and she goes to her grandmother's house, who was a hoarder. The house is full of garbage. She discovers a spooky journal, and then the things in the journal that are really spooky, she starts to discover in real life in the woods. And I think that sounds great. Next up, continuing my like isolated setting love right now. I don't know if this is more horror, more thriller, or what this one really is, but it's called The Lost Village. It's by Camilla Sten. This was recommended to me a lot, I want to say last year. Another 2019 one, sorry. And this is about a lost village. It follows this documentary filmmaker named Alice who goes to this village where the entire population vanished, including parts of her family, and she wants to find out the truth. So she brings a crew with her, and then once she gets there, like weird things start to happen, and it seems like somebody is trying to stop them from finding out what really happened all those years ago. Moving on to more overt thrillers and mysteries, I spent like an entire weekend deep diving on the Book Riot website and finding all of these amazing lists of mystery books. So like I found one that was all about locked room mysteries. I found one that was all about like mysteries set on islands, mysteries in isolated locations, and I just picked up like a lot of books. One list was also like mystery books that would be perfect for a book club. So I don't know, let me know if any of these appeal to you that you think would be fun picks for the Literally Dead Book Club 2022. First up, there's this one. It's called Alice's Island by Daniel Sanchez Arevalo. This is a domestic thriller where a woman loses her husband and he was last seen on an island near Nantucket. So she then goes there. She doesn't trust like the detectives to find out what happened. So she ends up moving to this island, inserting herself in all of these locals' lives, finding out like all of their secrets, and I guess trying to solve her husband's death. Next up, I grabbed one called As Long as We Both Shall Live by Joanne Chaney, another domestic thriller. In this one, we have a married couple who go on a hike. A very quick and vague synopsis, but only one of them returns. And then we have to find out, what secrets were they hiding? Is Matt a grieving husband or a cold-blooded murderer? Next up, we have Death in the Family by Tessa Wegert. And I said recently that I want to do a series where I pick up like detective focused mysteries. So this one was one of the only ones that seemed intriguing to me because it's set on an island, of course. A storm-struck island, a blood-soaked bed, a missing man. We're following a detective who survived a serial killer herself. It seems like the type of, I'm assuming it's going to be series. I feel like detective books always end up being series, and this one seems like it could be set up for like a prequel in the future too, because a lot seems to have happened before this book kicks off. But we have Shanna Merchant, who's called to a private island to investigate a missing person, and there's another investigator named Tim there, and they both have different ideas of what happened on the island. Apparently it's very fast-paced and suspenseful, and I want to give it a read. Next up, I grabbed The Hiding Place by CJ Tudor. This is an author I've read from before, and then I just saw the book at the thrift store so obviously I grabbed it. And this is a story about a man who moves back to his like small childhood town. There was a murder and a suicide and a betrayal, and he fled. He said he would never go back, but then he goes back, and what's currently happening is another string of deaths. He's staying in a spooky cottage. There's a spooky abandoned mine. I'm just gonna have to keep moving as the sun does. Next up, I grabbed a pretty new mystery thriller called The Other Black Girl. This is by Zakiya Delilah Harris, who works or has worked in publishing and then wrote this book like about the publishing industry and the environment. I've seen this picked up for a couple book clubs this year with very mixed feelings. So we're following a character named Nella, who's the only black girl at her publishing office, and then Hazel arrives, and at first they get along, but then she starts getting like threatening letters. She feels like her job is at risk, and then eventually her life is at risk. I think it sounds intriguing, so I'm gonna give it a go someday. I think maybe I need to make a whole series next year where I like the try a chapter tag, where like every time I read like the first chapter of maybe 5 to 10 books, because I am getting quite the collection, and then decide which ones I want to continue with. Next up is Billy Summers by Stephen King, another cheap thrift store find, so I just picked it up. I don't know if it'll be in the horror category of the Goodreads Awards or thriller. People say it's more thriller, but he constantly gets miscategorized, so I just grabbed it anyway. The opening is here, which is interesting, but still doesn't give exactly like the vibes. I don't really know how this is gonna be, but Billy Summers is like a hitman who's hired to get rid of people, only like the worst people though, and then something goes wrong. Pretty ambiguous, but he's being offered $2 million, so I guess he's intrigued. Next up, I grabbed Out by Natsuo Kirino. I've had this recommended to me a couple times over the years, and I have a couple friends who are currently reading this, and I just wanted to see what all the buzz is about. So this is a literary mystery set in Tokyo. There's a young mother who strangles her abusive husband, and we're following a character who discovers that that killing is merely the beginning and leads to a terrifying foray into the violent underbelly of Japanese society. I've heard it's dark and it's funny and it's interesting, so I grabbed it. Moving on to like the one mystery I've actually read from this stack, I picked up In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I recently read this for a vlog, a very successful vlog. It was a good time, and you can see me geek out over this one. But this has a fun setup of 6 friends and a college reunion. 10 years in the past, one of the friends in the group was murdered, and over this fateful weekend we find out what really happened. It's fun, it's messy, it's convoluted, and it was a really good time. Next, I think last of my like thrillery horror stuff, I just grabbed 4 Past Midnight by Stephen King, which is a short story collection. I don't think I own this one. If I do, it's like a mass market paperback, so I grabbed this. Can't tell you much about it because there's like four different stories that are all interesting. I haven't read them in a really long time though, so of all the short story collections by Stephen King that I imagine myself rereading the soonest, it would be that one. Okay, then we have my like fantasy magical stack, I guess, or sci-fi as well, as I'm holding XX by Ryan Hughes. The next couple I read for this video. This is a book that is really hard to describe, but it is a science fiction about aliens who are contacting humans, and we have like a couple characters in space and a couple characters on Earth, and it's how their stories intertwine. It's full of different like essays and a novel and like different interviews and documents, all related to people who are interpreting these messages from the aliens. Next, we've got The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, and this is about like a secret society for magician, magical like students. They're hand selected, like the best of the best. They have all of these powers, and they kind of have to compete and earn their spot as a long-term member of the society. Next up, I actually don't really know if I would fit this into like weird or fantasy. It's just weirdly written, and I also read it for that video, so let's get it out of the way. This is Only Revolutions by Mark Z. Danielewski, author of House of Leaves. This is, well, I don't want to spoil the vlog. Should I tell you this is one of the worst books I've ever read? I read some excerpts from this in my vlog that I hope you will enjoy. 18 plus. It's about two young lovers as they cross the continent. It's written like poetry, like lyrics. It's complexly crafted, very specifically built with like 180 words on every page and 180 pages per story, and it's an extremely difficult book to get through. Okay, let's go back over here. Oh my god. Next up, I was excited to find this at the thrift store. This is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. I saw a lot of people picking this up earlier this year because it was in like the book of the month box. I don't think I've really paid attention to any reviews that have come in since then, but I love the cover. For $2, I was down to give it a go. It's about an apothecary shop, and I think we're in two different timelines. In the past, there's this woman who creates these like potions and whatnot to, is it harm or kill like terrible men? Okay, it just says to use against the oppressive men in their lives. And then 200 years later, we're following another woman, a historian, who's finding out the truth about the apothecary murders. So it is about murder. And then somehow their fates and lives are bound together. I'm assuming like they're relatives. I also grabbed one of the most like recommended books ever to me, which is Spellbook of the Lost and Found by Moira Fowley Doyle. I get recommended this author all the time. Also coming in 2022 is gonna be some various videos reading your recommendations. I feel like this one has to be in there. Oh, this is the other one. I've also been recommended The Accident Season a lot. So this takes place in a small Irish town. We have 6 different characters. So there's like a girl and she has a best friend, and her best friend gets wrapped up in these like seemingly not great group of friends. And then they all find this spell book, and there are 3 different POVs, Olive, Laurel, and Hazel. The story lies at the intersection of the real and the magical, the tragic and the miraculous, the bone-chilling and the tender. It sounds intriguing. YA, paranormal, fantasy, it's not going great for me at this current point in my life, but I feel like this is gonna be a good one to like really figure that out with. And then I also grabbed The Sandcastle Empire. Again, cheap at the thrift store. I didn't love Kayla Olsen's previous book. What was it called? This Splintered Silence. I think I gave it 3 stars, but people have continued to recommend this one to me. The Sandcastle Empire is about a girl named Eden, and there is a group of people called the Wolf Pack who controls Earth and its resources. And then she goes to an island, another island setting. It's supposedly a sanctuary, but then Eden's new friends on this island go missing, and there's like a jungle, and it sounds good, but will it be good? We'll find out. Lastly, I was trying to categorize these together, but there's nothing pulling them together. This one's nonfiction. Again, I had this recommended to me a good amount, I think last year. I think this might have been in the Goodreads Choice Awards, or it was like Indigo's top books of the year, probably in 2019. Yeah, I just bought a lot of books from 2019. It's called We Have Always Been Here by Samra Habib. And it says it's a queer Muslim memoir. She grew up in Pakistan, faced regular threats from Islamic extremists. Her family came to Canada, and she's faced a lot of challenges, but she begins to explore faith, art, love, and queer sexuality, a journey that takes her to the far reaches of the globe to uncover a truth that was within her all along. I really love this color scheme, and so I picked it up again. This one is called I Love You, but I've chosen darkness. Yes, I bought it because of the cover and the title. It's by Claire Vaye Watkins, and it's about a mother who just like runs away from her family and goes to discover herself in the desert. She can't go back in time to make anything right, but what exactly is her way forward? Alone in the wilderness, she begins to find how to make herself at home in the world. So it's like a self-discovery, I don't know, midlife crisis type of story, which I don't traditionally love, but I don't know, just the way that this pitched itself, it sounds a little strange. And it's also written portions of it via letters, so I just want to check it out. And then we have Rabbits for Food by Binny Kirschenbaum. Binny is exactly the name of somebody who should write a book called Rabbits for Food. Yes, this is something I picked up because I'm planning a rabbit themed vlog next summer. The recommendations have been pouring in. So many of them are horror and thriller, and I wanted to make sure I also had just like a kind of literary story in there. But now I have a couple other on my radar because people keep sending me, thank you, continue to send me rabbits on the cover of books. I feel like I'm gonna have a really big bunny haul to share at some point. But we're following a character. Does she have a name? Well, she doesn't in the synopsis. She basically has a breakdown and it lands her in a prestigious New York hospital. And what she does there is writes stories about all of the other patients who she deems lunatics and what she thinks of all of them while she goes on her own journey of what brought her there to begin with. So I am intrigued. And that's all of it. That's everything. I usually share with you at the beginning how many there were. I think there was like 25. A lot of things I haven't read yet, but that I have active plans of when I'm going to do so. But we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if any of these books intrigue you or which ones that you think I should prioritize and read sooner than later. Answer any questions that I asked about book club things, and I will leave anything that I mentioned down below for you. And I'll see you later. Bye!